It begins with blood. Not the dramatic kind spilled in battle or echoed in headlines. This is quiet blood, hidden blood, the kind you never see until it's too late. That's how Lights Out starts, by showing us a world that wears a mask of peace, while chaos brews underneath, a place where the flick of a light switch can mean the difference between life and death. And when the lights finally go out, what's left in the dark isn't fear, it's fury. Raw, relentless fury. This isn't a story about victims. This is a story about survivors who stopped waiting for justice and started taking it. Navessa Allen drags us headfirst into a twisted landscape where survival is earned, not given. The main character is not here to be saved. She's the one who sets the fire. Her name is Kennedy Carter, and she's the storm coming to level the playing field. She's brilliant, dangerous, and completely done being prey. What begins as a story of personal vengeance morphs into a revolution. A single woman's vendetta soon lights the match for something bigger, something that cannot be silenced. Kennedy is a hacker, a ghost in the machine, a weapon sharpened by trauma. She doesn't just want revenge. She wants to dismantle the very system that tried to erase her. Her past is littered with pain, secrets, and names she's marked for destruction. Those names belong to the men behind a mask of authority. The ones who took everything from her and assumed she would quietly disappear. But they were wrong. She's not gone. She's watching. And now she's ready to strike. The story unfolds in layers, peeling back secrets Kennedy has kept buried for years. We see her navigate a world where power is hoarded by the few and justice is a joke. Her methods are brutal, strategic, and entirely necessary. Kennedy doesn't kill without reason, but when she does, it's fast and final. Her targets aren't innocent. They're predators hiding behind politics, wealth, and influence. She's not playing a game. She's writing her own rules. Allen gives us a main character who is unapologetically angry, and that anger becomes a force of nature. Every move Kennedy makes is calculated. She's not here to create a spectacle. She's here to erase a legacy of corruption. She doesn't flinch at blood, doesn't hesitate when the choice is between mercy and justice, because mercy has no place in a world where predators go unpunished. Kennedy's war isn't fought alone. She builds an army out of shadows and silence. Other victims, other warriors. People who have nothing left to lose and everything to gain. She forms a network that becomes the backbone of her movement. Each member has a story, a reason, a hunger for change. Allen doesn't make them pretty, doesn't make them saints. These are broken people with sharp edges and stronger wills. They don't want peace, they want power. And together, they make sure the system hears them scream. There's a rhythm to Allen's storytelling. It's fast when it needs to be, a blur of action and fear and fire. Then it slows, sitting heavy in the quiet moments when Kennedy's past creeps in. We learn about her childhood, her loss, the events that turned her into a living weapon. Her trauma is a scar, not a weakness. It doesn't define her, but it fuels her. We see how she learned to read code before she could drive, how she created an identity no one could trace, how she turned silence into survival. One of the most chilling parts of Lights Out is how familiar it feels. The corruption, the cover-ups, the way the powerful protect their own. Allen doesn't create a dystopia. She reveals the one we already live in. Her villains aren't monsters. They're CEOs, judges, politicians, men who smile for the cameras and bleed evil in private. And she shows what happens when someone refuses to let them get away with it. As Kennedy closes in on her enemies, the tension rises. Every chapter brings her closer to the people who hurt her, but it also puts everyone she cares about in danger. There are moments when the cost of vengeance threatens to outweigh the reward. Moments when the reader wonders if Kennedy will lose herself to the war she started, but she never lets go of her vision. She holds onto it with iron fists because she knows there's no going back. Not for her, not for any of them. The relationships in this book are sharp and complex. Kennedy doesn't trust easily, and when she does, it's earned through sweat and sacrifice. Her allies don't ask her to be soft. They respect her strength, fear her rage, and follow her because she doesn't lie. There's no fake nobility in her mission, no sugar-coated purpose, just truth. Raw, painful truth. And that's what draws people to her. There is romance in Lights Out, but it's not the gentle kind. It's forged in fire, complicated, tangled in fear and need and adrenaline. Kennedy's heart isn't some prize to be won, it's a battlefield, and anyone who loves her must be willing to bleed. Allen doesn't write love as a distraction. She writes it as a war strategy. It's survival, connection in a world where trust is a risk. And when Kennedy does let herself feel, it's explosive. The pacing of this novel is relentless. There are no filler scenes, no wasted words. Every move Kennedy makes leads to something bigger. A break-in leads to a leak leads to an arrest leads to a riot. Allen maps out the consequences of every choice, and it's not always clean. Innocents get caught in the crossfire. Mistakes are made, but that's the point. Change isn't neat. Justice is rarely gentle, and revolution never asks permission. As Kennedy's mission barrels toward its climax, the stakes rise to impossible heights. The system starts to fight back. Her name becomes a target. Her allies fall. The media twists her into a monster, but she refuses to stop. She doesn't need the world to see her as a hero. She just needs the world to change. And if it takes fear to make that happen, so be it. The final act is brutal and brilliant. Secrets explode into the public eye. Kennedy's enemies scrambled to bury the truth, but she's already outmaneuvered them. Her final play is both shocking and satisfying. Allen doesn't hand the reader a perfect ending. She gives us something better, real one where justice comes at a cost, where heroes walk away bloodied, where the world shifts, but doesn't heal overnight. Lights Out is not just a thriller, it's a manifesto, a battle cry, a story that refuses to look away. It's about what happens when a woman refuses to be silenced, about what burns in the hearts of the unheard. Allen doesn't ask the reader to feel comfortable, she asks them to wake up, to see the cracks in the foundation, to question what they've been told. And in Kennedy Carter, she gives us a character who doesn't just survive the darkness, she becomes it. This is not a book for the faint of heart. It's violent, it's furious, it's devastating in the best way. But if you're tired of stories that tiptoe around injustice, if you're hungry for a voice that doesn't hold back, Lights Out delivers. It's sharp, unforgiving, necessary, and it will stay with you long after the last page. Link in description.